Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm WoWcrendor, and welcome back to the World of Warcraft subscription loss video. Our quarterly video where we talk about how WoW has yet again lost subscribers. And WoW has yet again lost subscribers. Granted, at the start of Warlords of Draenor, it peaked back up to, well, it didn't peak, but it shot back up to like 10 million, which was the highest it had been since the start of Mist Pandaria and kind of the middle of the Cataclysm. But right now, if you have not heard, we are down to 5.6 million subscribers. I'm sure you've heard. And normally, you know, you'd be like, well, they lost subs again. This is big because this is the lowest it has been since Vanilla WoW in, what is this, 2006. This is the lowest it has been since 2006. That's crazy. I don't care, you know, whatever you think, like, it's just, you know, whatever. That's not good. And you might say it's still more than other games. It's still, you know, doing well. You know, they're still making money, but when you're dropping that far, that shows you what people think of your expansion. And Warlords of Draenor had really high hopes. It had really high just promise, and I promoted it a lot because I was like, this game seems really fun. I really enjoyed playing beta. I love playing beta. I love playing the start of the expansion, and I think the biggest issue is just it ran... I mean, there's a lot of issues, but it didn't have enough content. It ran out of content. Trust me, I know about content and non-content, and in addition to, you know, all the things I've already said, garrisons, it's like a Facebook game. The fact that I got epicked out, I have epicked out raid gear, and I can't even talk. I set foot into a dungeon once. I did it once. I haven't even done LFR. I've literally went into a raid once, and yet I have fully epicked out gear. Just from, like, sending my guy off on missions to go get me gear. I thought that'd be really cool at first, because in my mind, I thought, oh, maybe if I don't have a piece of gear, like every once in a while, I'll, you know, get some gear. But it was just, I didn't care, and so I was just like, go get me stuff, I'm just gonna go do other stuff. And then eventually, you just slowly accumulate raid gear, and I'm like, well, I got raid gear. There's no, there doesn't feel like there's a challenge, and that's a big problem, and I think they realized that. I think they realized garrisons being like a focal point. The garrisons are alright, but I think they need to be a side thing. And a lot of this I've talked about in my previous videos, but I was reading a Reddit thread, and I love what one person wrote. They wrote, back in, well, I remember the first post is something like, we really did go back in time. We went all the way back to vanilla numbers. Ayo. But he said the game is lacking that, kind of like that, you know how when you'd be in Orgrimmar and you'd see someone in like Molten Core gear, or like tier 1 or tier 2 gear, and you weren't good enough to really get that yet. You would see them and be like, oh man, I can't wait till I get that gear. Or like, wow, that looks really cool, I want that. It lacks that. It lacks that kind of drive to get something, because it almost feels like everybody gets that eventually. And it doesn't feel as special anymore. And that's the big thing. It needs to feel special. There needs to... I think one of the biggest issues is over time, people just complain. They complain like, I work all these hours, Blizzard, and I don't get the gear, and I want the gear. And I think Blizzard has actually listened to their fans, but I think they've listened to maybe the... not even the wrong fans. It's more like they're trying to please everyone. You can't please everyone, and it's possible to give both sides some things, but, you know, you're not going to completely, like, satisfy. They'll be like, this is cool, but I wish you'd just add this. And I think that they're just looking for that balance. And this expansion, I don't even know what happened this expansion. Like, is just a giant blah, and just throw in the lore to that. Throw in the lore to include it into being a giant, just like blah of whatever it was. So Just looking at this graph, we look at vanilla WoW, constantly going up in vanilla WoW, of course. Burning Crusade, it was still going up. You're climbing the mountain. We peaked, we hit the top of the mountain, Wrath of the Lich King, you kill the Lich King. That is 12.3 million subscribers. That was when we peaked. And what's interesting about that is that was the last expansion where WoW was actually gaining subscribers throughout the expansion. And I think that's really interesting. It was gaining subscribers through the expansion. Just think about that. Like, can you imagine these last Cataclysm, Mop, and WoD if we were gaining subscribers as the expansion went along? Like, think about that. Everybody's like, well, there's no content to do anymore. I'm leaving. Mr. Pandaria, there's nothing to do anymore. I'm leaving. So I think that is a really significant statistic that shows on this like little graph of everything is like what made people stay subscribed or keep subscribing through those time periods. And I think one of the biggest things is lore. In Burning Crusade, I think a lot of people were still finding out about the game, so that's a bit contributing. And people started being like, oh, we get to kill Illidan. He's from the Warcraft 3 storyline. So, you get to go kill Illidan and Black Temple and all these things. And then Wrath came out, and you get Northrend and this really cool, like, Nordic Viking type environment up in, the wintry snows and mountains. And you're like, we're going to kill Arthas, kind of like the Darth Vader of WoW. He used to be good, now you get bad, now he's this evil, king, and he's threatening everybody in Azeroth, and it's like, oh man, we got to go save it. And that lore, I thought that lore was really good, but that was also stemming from like older, Warcraft RTS and everything like that. Then Cataclysm hits, and I think Deathwing was the start of people being like, like I thought the Deathwing lore was okay. It wasn't terrible, but I just didn't care as much as I did during the previous two expansions. And then Mr. Pandaria, I really didn't care about the lore. I was just like, wait, what? Garrosh is doing this, and then he's going to trial, and like, I don't know. The more I think about it, I'm like, why did Garrosh go to a trial? I was really thinking, I was like, this is World of Warcraft. This is a game where it's like constant war and battles and orcs and undead and things. They're like, yeah, he needs to go to a trial. A fair. It's like, no. Why do we need to have a trial? And then just the whole going back in time thing is just like, I still think they did it for the Warcraft movie, to be honest. The more and more people talk about it, I think it makes sense that they did it for the Warcraft movie to introduce all those characters. And I could never get into the lore in Warlords of Draenor. And, that's not to say it wasn't fun. I still enjoyed like playing through the game and doing all this stuff, but just I didn't care at the end of it. I wasn't like, man, I want to go raid and find out these cool like boss stories or like fight these old, like Ner'zhul and Gul'dan and everything. Like, it just, I don't think it felt as connected because they're just like, this is, that's the same people, but it's not the same people because we're in a different time zone, period, whatever it is. It was confusing. I don't know. Here's what I think we need. I think we need to go back to Azeroth. And I think they really need us like a South Seas type expansion. In a video like a week ago, I talked about that leak that happened with the South Seas expansion being like, oh, this could be it. But even if it isn't the South Seas expansion, I think it needs to be a type of expansion like that that's going to bring us back to a character we know. For example, like Azshara. Like, everybody knows Azshara from Warcraft 3. And it needs to be that, and it also needs to be taking a step back from the casualness that they've been doing. And I don't even want to say casualness. That's a really bad word to use. Because, I mean, you could... the simplification. That's what I was like. The simplification that they've done. They've really oversimplified it. And I think one of the things about Wrath that was cool was it's that nice middle ground of simplification. I thought it was simplified from vanilla WoW, but it wasn't oversimplified like it is now. It was a nice steady like middle ground. And I remember, you would do heroics, and you could do heroics to kind of get endgame gear, but you'd have to do a lot of heroics. And even though the heroics were somewhat like easy mode, and I remember, you would just like AoE down shit, you were still at least doing something out in the world in the game. You were still, and you were going to the dungeons that they've created. They weren't completely useless like they are now. They actually had 5-mans and stuff. And I loved the world PvP zone. I loved Winter Grasp. I thought it was amazing. I don't know why they haven't done something like it since then. They tried in like Tol Barad, and then Tol Barad was just like, I don't even think it was like Winter Grasp. It was just stupid. And I was like, why wouldn't you guys just try Winter Grasp again? But I don't know. I love they brought that back. Because I remember even doing the instance within Winter Grasp. Because you wanted to fight to get the instance, and then you could get a mount, you could get other stuff. It was cool, and it made you want to go world PvP. And then you had an awesome zone. Like, even though it wasn't... Well, I guess it was Azeroth, technically. Because it's Northrend. We need to come back to Azeroth. I still want a neutral city. I don't care what anyone says, but... I mean, I'll sacrifice a neutral city if we can get some cool stuff like, what I was just talking about. And then, like I've said before, we need things that are kind of like create your fun. Don't tell us how to like play the game. Let us kind of make our own fun. Like I was saying, if you have guild garrisons, maybe let people, decorate the garrisons with furniture that you can get from like exploring, almost like toys or pets and stuff. You can collect furniture and decoration things, and you can put that in your garrison, and not just like, I have an antique chair. Like cool stuff, like like the horde, like a horde metal chair with like Thrall's face on it, or like like, hey, I got an Azeroth tree I can put. It's like Animal Crossing almost. Although people be like, I don't want Animal Crossing in WoW, but it's I think it adds a bit more. It adds another element to the game that's not just like, where can I place my stable? Like, that's not customization. That's just like, I don't know. Like, they didn't even need to do that. They didn't even need, I don't know. There's so many things. And it all just like kind of comes out at once, and so it's hard to kind of talk about it. This is just me ranting. Because so many people have like throughout WoW's history been like, WoW is dying. WoW's dead. This is it. But this is like a really big drop. This is the biggest drop we've ever seen. This is the lowest it's ever been. And so, I don't know. I think we need to talk about it because, I care about World of Warcraft. I care about this game because I still enjoy playing the game. And that's one of the biggest things that I've seen with a lot of forum posts, a lot of other things, is that people still want to play the game. And there's people being like, game's old, game's dying, game's outdated, whatever. But there's people that are still like, I really want to play the game. I just try to play and I get bored, or I get frustrated and I'm like, I don't know what to do, or I don't feel like there's anything to do. And that's what Blizzard needs to fix. We can talk about everything all we want, but Blizzard is the game developer. They're the people that created this game, and if anything, I feel like they have the potential to fix it. I think they can give us some new stuff. I just realized I'm flying like in Azshara, talking about like an Azshara expansion. It's kind of funny. I'm mainly just flying here because I'm filming my Billy video, which takes place right here at the start, and I've been filming it pretty cool. Off topic. But yeah, I think we might just need to be like, Blizzard, like, what are you going to do about it? As much as we can theory craft and do all these things, we need to just see like, Blizzard, you gave us this awesome experience. You innovated the MMO genre. What are you going to do to fix, how far you've fallen now? And that's what I'm curious about. And it's going to, the press conference is tomorrow. They're going to announce the new WoW expansion. I'm all ears. I'm like, let's hear it. Let's do this. What do we got? We got a new class, got a new race, we got new, mechanics, we got new other stuff. What's happening? Or are they just going to announce, like, the title of it? Even then, like, I just, who's the end game boss going to be? Are we going back in time again? This is probably the most important announcement I think they've made in World of Warcraft's history. Like, this is really big. this is going to determine whether the game keeps falling or if they can rise back up again. And some people have been saying they won't get back up to Wrath of the Lich King numbers, but I don't know. I think if they... Oh, yeah. If they innovated and put the effort in and really worked enough, I think they could get back up to Wrath numbers. I don't know if they could pass Wrath numbers, but I think they could get pretty close. And I think one of the biggest things they could do is just create more content, like consistent content. You know, more raids, more dungeons, more, you know, maybe some new battlegrounds like the world PvPs. There just needs to be stuff to do. That's one of the things. I almost feel like there's nothing to really do except go to my garrison right now. There needs to be stuff, like content to do. And I think Final Fantasy 14 coming out, I think that has actually been one of the best things to happen to WoW, because it's taken a lot of the player base away. A lot of people are going to play Final Fantasy and being like, wow, this is really cool. They actually have like guild housing, and you have like the ability to, like, you know, decorate the place, and, you know, they have raids, they have PvP, they have, you know, they have cool professions. And I think when that type of thing happens, it creates innovation. It creates like it creates that panic in you, like, oh man, we can't just sit back and coast along anymore. We actually have to like do something now. You know, it lights a fire under you, and that's what I think WoW needed. That they've been coasting along for far too long, and they really needed that fire to be lit under them, to be like, hey guys, wake up. Let's, like, you know, let's start innovating and doing some fun new stuff again, instead of just being like, hey, garrisons, we're going back in time. Hey. So it almost reminds me of like Apple, how Apple used to be like, hey, we created this cool new music device. Hey, we created Apple TV. Hey, we created a new iPhone, or we created the first smartphone, you know, all these things. And now they're just kind of like, hey, we've added some stuff. Hey, we've added some stuff. And it's like, you know, it feels like they're lacking that passion and that drive. And I think that kind of rubs off onto the game, and people sense that, and they're like, you know, it's lacking something, and they feel that. So that was my rant about WoW dropping down to 5.6 million subscribers. What do you think? Because I'd love to hear what you think. I don't know. I'll make another video talking about whatever they release tomorrow and my opinions and thoughts on that. But leave your comments below on what you think about this big subscriber drop loss. And yeah, thanks for listening. See ya.